Alex, why does resilience matter?
New challenges are constantly thrown our way. We can never predict what's going to happen tomorrow. So the more we develop our capacity for resilience, the more likely we are to cope with challenging life events and to learn and grow and find meaning in those difficult life events or setbacks.
Thank you. I like that.
It's always so deep on this show. My gosh. I'm prepared to learn about resilience.
Be prepared. Be prepared.
Dish, dish, dish. Dish.
Hey y'all, it's Onika.
And it's your girl B.
And you are dishing with Dainty Dish. How you doing today, B?
Well, you know, I'm trucking.
You're trucking?
Yeah, I'm scratching and surviving. Good times.
Good times. Yeah.
How about you?
My back is on fire because yesterday, with the help of Elliot,
No help
I
of me.
painted. No help of
That
Bianca.
was the job, I know.
I painted my apartment. You guys will see it on Instagram Live when we start doing our Instagram Lives more. But it is powdered gray. It's some kind of gray. I don't know if it's powdered gray.
My selection.
But
it's powder.
I like it. I like it. It was literally back-breaking labor. And I did the trim.
Sweetest labor?
Yeah, it was the sweetest. It was the sweetest. It was really good. Alex, what do you think about it?
I love it. I walked into this place and I was just like, wow, my jaw dropped. It's honestly beautiful.
Thank you.
Oh, what do you think? Thank you for
It's just such a cool
My
space.
color choice. I know I've missed my calling on so many things in life, so thank you.
No, the color is perfect. Maybe you should go into interior design.
There's so many things I'm going to be just dabbling in. Thank you.
Just dabbling. Well, I don't know if you guys recognize that voice that was just talking just now. That's Dr. Alex Chris. We've had her on the show before, and we're going to have her on the show much, much more.
Yay!
We are starting a series with Alex called Dyshing with Dr. Alex.
You
And
guys
I'm
are not
so
ready.
excited. You're not ready yet. You're not ready for the topics we're about to cover.
And I'm so excited and so grateful to be here with both of you.
Oh my gosh, Alex, tell the listening audience a little bit about themselves. If you missed the episode with Alex, it aired, I believe it was last year. I don't know the exact number, but just scroll through, you'll find it.
You should be listening to
you should
all
be
of them.
listening to all
people.
of them.
Go
Yeah,
back. Go
but
back. And
Mental
Just in
health in the
case.
workplace.
Mental health in the workplace, that's what it was. So we're going to be expanding on that, but I want the audience to know more about you. Who are you? What do you do? The who, what, where, when, why, and how. The WH5. Give it to me.
Okay, so I finished my PhD in organizational psychology back in August from the University of Guelph. Organizational psychology is the application of psychology to the workplace. So I studied and conducted research to better understand how we can build workplaces that are psychologically healthy and productive. I am now working at Rogers Communications. I am the mental health program lead. It's an incredible job. I absolutely love working there. And as part of my role, I facilitate the development and implementation of trainings and programs at both the employee and leadership level to support mental health. And I'm also responsible for developing communications to build awareness around mental health and well-being and to ensure that our employees are aware of all the resources that they have access to.
That's incredible.
And you didn't even. I didn't even know that there was that type of sector, and you need that in a workplace. So
It's definitely quite new and unique. And actually, an article just came out last week in the Globe and Mail. CAMH is urging business executives, to develop and implement a mental health strategy for their employees. So this is only going to continue to grow. So it's definitely an exciting space to be working
You
in.
have just led us into our news flash.
I was about to say
That was the story that I wanted to cover today in our
serious?
news flash. That's crazy. crazy.
That is funny.
That's crazy. So CAMH released a workplace mental health guide.
Yes.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that with you to get your opinion on it. So
I haven't actually seen the guide. Have you?
I went on CAMH's website and I just read a little bit about it, but I didn't download the guide. I think you can download it off their website.
Okay.
I just read a little bit about it and I just read what was in the news. But it's called the Workplace Mental Health Playbook for Business Leaders.
Yes.
So it released a guide advising companies on how they can support employees facing mental health challenges. And they had 5 recommendations. So create a long-term mental health strategy for the entire organization. Number 2, implement mandatory training for people leaders, like people who are leading people. Create a tailored mental health support system. Prioritize and improve on return to work processes, and track the performance of the mental health strategy of itself. So those are their 5 suggestions that are like covered, I guess, in this guide. They also gave some interesting facts, and I've heard these before, and I think I would have read this during the research I did from the workplace mental health episode we did so many eons ago. So the annual economic burden of mental illness is $51 billion. At least 500,000 people, Canadians, miss work each week due to mental illness. Yeah. And the guide recommends that an employee mental health strategy should include reducing employee work-life friction, which I can only imagine is the whole work-life balance.
I haven't heard that term. But
yeah,
I
work-life
like it.
friction.
Oh, that's probably like work politics.
Like work-life, I guess the friction between work
when your
and
work and
life.
your personal life are butting heads, I guess.
Oh, is that okay? I thought that would be like
I've never heard
like work politics. Like, you know, when they say like
Office politics.
Office politics. Like,
Yeah.
So
addressing job-related stress, which could be office politics, which often leads to mental health sick leave, and introducing an investment into physical health. And I don't know what that would look like or feel like if they start popping up with gyms or giving you a membership.
They would just give you like probably memberships. Like, remember when mom was working, like she used to get like what would you call it, like incentives for different places, like, you know. And I've heard of like hospitals giving people incentives for like Lifetime, the new Lifetime gym, the new fancy gym and stuff. Yeah, in Ajax, I always hear about that. Like, they get a discount compared to other people. Like, if you work at the hospital.
Yeah, so some companies will do that. Some companies have gyms on site. So actually, when I'm working in Brampton, I always go to the gym. We have classes every day, so I'll go at 5:15 to a class, and then by the time I'm done, I'll sometimes go back to my computer, finish off a few things, so that by the time I leave, rush hour is already over. So it's amazing having a gym at work.
I was about to say, I feel pressured. I feel like I have no excuse.
Well, we'll talk a little bit more about that. It's pressure, but it also when you know you're going to the gym and you're waiting out the traffic, it's created structure for me. So what's funny is that I actually go to the gym more now while I'm working than I did when I was in school and had all this flexibility.
Yeah, I could
So,
see that, because it's always
good.
like you're going downstairs to get to the car and it's like, the gym's right
You have
there.
zero excuse. I don't even have to go outside.
Like, yeah, maybe, yeah.
Yeah. So resilience. What does resilience mean to you? B.
You know, like the little train that said, I think I can. That's
The little engine that could.
The little engine that could. That's resilience to
Little
me.
tink tink.
Keep going. Little tink tink. We can't talk about
So being able to just continue and to push through
Yes.
those challenges
Yes.
and then to get through them. I like that.
Yeah.
That's a really great way to think about it.
resilience. Yeah.
For me, I would say resilience.
I want to learn what it really is.
What it really
so.
is. We're about to learn. For me, I would say resilience is, I would say almost the same thing. Like your ability to, bounce back from like challenging situations and your ability to get through. Like one of my favorite quotes, and I've said it on the show before, is a Robert Frost quote that says, "The only way out is through." So like making sure you get through what you're going through and just maintaining some semblance of sanity while you're doing it. I think that's one way to define resilience.
Well, I love that you're both mentioning that ability to get through, or the little engine that could. A lot of people immediately define resilience as the ability to bounce back, which you did incorporate that into your definition. But it is that ability to get through a really challenging time. And it's also about the ability to learn and to grow and to find meaning in those difficult life events or setbacks. And that's what actually enables you to become more resilient in the future. Because if you know that you can get through something stressful once, then you're going to be more confident in your ability to get through it again. And that's what builds our resilience.
So with resilience comes faith, because you got to have faith to push through, right? So I like that. I never thought like I could be like, I'm resilient. I could just be like, I get through it. You know?
No, you can say you're resilient.
We're
Honestly,
actually all pretty resilient.
I was about to say, I'm like, am I really special to say I'm resilient? Maybe not, but.
And kids are super resilient,
Oh,
believe
yeah.
it or not.
Oh yeah,
They fall, they hurt themselves, they cry, and then they get right back up.
I have one that cries all the time. To be honest, so.
Well, she's like 10 months old.
No, I wasn't even talking about that one. I was talking about the older one. Like, I'm not even gonna sidetrack it, but like something happened yesterday, and like, I wish she would build up some resilience. So
She is resilient.
Her
Give her-
resolve.
give her 5 years, and she's gonna listen to this podcast to build up this resilience. Because
So are some people more resilient than others? Like I'll give you a perfect example. My grandmother, she was tough. Like what she made happen in her life, and I've told the story on the podcast before, and if you haven't heard it, just check the old podcasts. No, but she was a powerhouse, and she had, these 11 children that she raised, and she did it all on her own with barely any money to her name. And, all of those children are scattered around the world right now living their lives. So, like, that to me is resilience. But, like, I don't think I have that level of resilience that she did. You know what I mean? Like, going through the time she was going through and her, like, the space that she was in, like, it was different. But are all people supposed to just be resilient, or are some more resilient than others?
So we're definitely all resilient, as I said. So research shows that approximately 65% of people who experience a traumatic event in their lives are able to return to their normal level of functioning shortly after the event and stay there. But yes, we are going to differ in our level of resilience. So if you look at major tragedies or catastrophes, for example, during the Holocaust, people who were able to maintain that positive mindset and who thought about getting through each day, they were more likely to survive. So yes, everyone does differ in their baseline levels of resilience. Some people will be more resilient than others. But what's important to know and remember is that it's not a trait that people have or don't have. So we all have some level of resilience, and we can develop our resilience through behaviors and through our thoughts and through our actions.
okay, that's good.
Yep.
Gives me hope.
So what internal resources contribute to resilience?
So positivity, as I mentioned, people with a positive mindset are going to have an easier time getting through a really challenging events. So if you think about the way that you frame situations, if you're going through a hard time and you say, I'm never going to feel better, it's going to be a lot more challenging to get through it. But if you say, I'm having a bad day today and this will get better, I might need some time, but this will get better, we are going to have an easier time getting through that challenging situation. So the way we look at events, our level of positivity.
And positivity is such a social thing now. Like, everyone's trying to make it a social norm. You see the motivational quotes and the things like that on Instagram and things like that. But it's good to know that positivity is, as you said, how would I word what you were just saying? But it's getting through to the other day, like realizing, futuristically, like when the nighttime comes sometimes and I have a rough day having 2 kids, I don't know how people with 3 and 4 do it.
I totally agree. My brother has 3 kids, and I'm like, I don't know how you do this.
I don't know how you do it. But at the end of the night, sometimes I have to say to myself, like, oh, tomorrow's a new day.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I got through, you know, most of the hours today. I'm gonna go to sleep. I'm gonna wake up. I'm gonna do it all again, and I'll just do it better.
So, by the way, it's also about being realistic. So, realistic optimism. It's not about painting a happy face or pretending that everything is great when it's not. It's about being realistic, but also having the ability to notice those positive moments that pepper our everyday lives. So even on a really bad day, you can often find something positive, like someone holding the door for you, someone smiling at you, a conversation you had with someone. Being able to notice those things is going to increase our level of resilience. So I need to share this study with you, because when I read this for the first time, I was in shock and just couldn't believe it. So it's one of my favorite studies on positivity, and it's also one of the most famous studies on happiness. And it's based on data that was collected from the old diaries of Catholic nuns. I know we were talking about faith earlier.
Oh, my goodness.
So there were 180 nuns from the School Sisters of Notre Dame, and they were all born before the year 1917. And at the time, in their 20s, they were asked to write down their thoughts in autobiographical journal entries.
Ooh.
So this was when they were 20 years old. And more than 50 years later, a group of researchers came along and decided to code the entries for positive emotional content. And they wanted to see if the nuns' level of positivity as 20-year-olds predicted how the rest of their lives turned out.
I'm gonna guess that it was very negative. Like, aren't you sheltered as a nun? Like, they couldn't have been happy all the time.
So what they were doing was they were looking at the positive content in their journal. So let's say there were 180 nuns. So some of them were going to be more positive than others. And what they found is that the nuns who were the most positive, so the nuns who had the most positive content in their journals, they lived nearly 10 years longer than the nuns whose entries were more negative.
I feel like I've read this study.
Yeah, you probably did, because it's written up in several books. So Sean Aker talks about this study and the happiness advantage. I read it in another book called The Happiness Equation by Neil Parisha. So that's actually where I learned about it. But just to even give you a little bit more information about this study, so they looked at the happiest nuns, so those in the top quartile, and they found that at 85 years old, 90% of those nuns were still alive. But when they looked at the bottom quartile, so the least happy nuns, only 34% of those nuns were still alive at age 85. Wow. So our level of positivity and our ability to reframe events as positive, or to look for the good in things, it predicts how long we're going to live.
The power of positive thinking is real. Oh my gosh.
Had a show on that just the other day, the power of positive thinking. So that's very interesting.
I was about to say, I'm like, now it's like,
the facts speak for themselves.
Gratitude is the way of life.
Trust me.
All these episode people listen to these, because all of them come into play together.
Exactly. They're all intertwined.
It's not easy, but it's about building a habit and a practice. And that is why you're hearing so many people talk about gratitude. That's why it's such a hot topic right now, because when we write down 3 things we're grateful for every single day for 21 days, it actually trains our brains. The research shows changes in the brain so that we're more likely to see the positive in our everyday life just by practicing gratitude.
Well, I'm going to try that for the next 21 days.
Do
You
it.
should have been already doing it from the gratitude episode.
I mean,
I keep a gratitude journal.
See, she keeps a gratitude journal, but, you know, I'm going to throw it out. I'm a mom. I don't got a little
stop
time.
it with your
Don't throw it out. It's actually very funny when you look back and you read what you wrote 6 months ago.
I used to love doing that when I was younger and I had journals. Like, reading the years past. I used to, like, take them out of the book, stuff them in an envelope, date them with the year, and I'd go back and open them and read them. Like, the changes. So I know what you mean. So maybe... All right, you guys got me. I'm doing it.
Do it with your kids. Your older child.
Yeah. And she likes writing, so...
Yeah, she does love to write.
She doesn't even have to write, you just, you ask her in the middle of the day, at the end of the day, whatever time of day it is, What are you happy about today? I actually asked my niece. My niece is 5. I said to her, what are you grateful for? And I asked her, do you know what grateful means? And her response was, it means that something's great. And I literally melted. Because really, it really is. It's very close to the actual definition.
Yeah.
What are you happy about? What are you thankful for?
Kids take they just take the simplest
That's
things.
so
and just,
cute.
Yeah.
Great.
That's so cute.
What I think's great. So yeah, she's right.
So how does one become more resilient?
So definitely, focusing on reframing our thoughts. As I said, modifying the language you use. So instead of using words like always and never, I will never feel better, try using words like sometimes and lately. Lately, I haven't been feeling great. Be self-compassionate. When things happen, how do you speak to yourself? When you're going through something, do you speak to yourself the same way you would speak to a friend?
I have a hard time doing this because I never speak to myself the same way I speak to my friend. I'll spit out straight facts and then never speak to myself the same way.
We're much harder on ourselves than we are on others. So if something happens at work, let's say we do something, we didn't do something as well as we would have liked. We're going to be hard on ourselves. We're going to ruminate about it. We're going to be negative about it. So think about if your friend was telling you that same thing happened to them, how would you respond to that person? Another way to build resilience is focusing on how we can enhance our confidence. So if you're confident in your abilities, if you believe that you can get through tough situations and deal with setbacks, it's going to allow us to get through a challenge in the future more easily. So it doesn't mean that you need to be an expert at every situation you come across, but it means that you have the attitude that you can figure out what you need to do. And it's okay if you need to ask for help, but it's believing in your ability to get through challenging situations. So in order to boost our self-belief, our belief in our abilities, think about challenging situations that you've gotten through in the past and write them down, and it will remind you that you can get through it again.
What you thought was a big hurdle at that moment is like a molehill years later.
Yeah.
Were you telling me about
Yeah, we had it on the episode about, like, I can't remember what they called it. When you write things.
No. I was gonna say when they say if you whatever you're like dwelling on, like whatever you're dwelling on, if you won't think about it, if it won't matter in 5 years, don't think about it for more than 5 minutes. Yeah.
Yes.
And so I could see that. Like, I could see how if you think more positive and do something like that, like it'd be better in your life. And
How can we be more resilient in the workplace? I'm just curious how the two can go hand in hand.
So I think, again, reframing the way we think about things, being self-compassionate. If we don't do something as well as we would have liked, we can apply that in our work. Taking a look at our self-beliefs and whether or not we can get through tough situations and deal with setbacks, so that when a challenging situation does happen at work, if we can go back and say, okay, I got through this in the past, I can get through it again. So all of this applies to one's personal life and to one's work life. Something else I want to touch on, this relates to confidence, but it's definitely applicable to work, is knowing our strengths and using our strengths. When we play to our personal strengths, it boosts our confidence. And when we're feeling more confident, we're going to have an easier time getting through any challenging time at work.
when you say personal strengths, like, do you mean like what you're good at? Like,
yeah.
So like, even if you're working a job that it might not be something that you normally are supposed to do on the job, like using your your abilities to make it easier, like type of thing. So that'll naturally make you feel.
It's funny because I talk about strengths a lot, and what I find is that sometimes people are just like, I don't even know what my strengths are, or I don't know if I'm using my strengths at work. So literally think about what you're good at, what you enjoy doing, what comes easily to you. Write those things down and think about how you can incorporate it into your work more often. So if you're a really social person and you like interacting with others and engaging with others, how can you find ways to incorporate more of that into your work? When you're doing things that you enjoy, when you're doing things that you're naturally good at, it boosts your confidence. And then when a tough situation does come along, you're going to just be more confident in your ability to get through it. And as a result, you're going to get through it. But what's interesting is that a lot of us think we need to focus on our weaknesses. But really, when we focus on our weaknesses, it actually drains our energy. And we typically aren't going to see improvements in our weaknesses. We'll see some improvement, but the improvement won't be as great as if we're focusing on improving a strength. So if we focus on improving something we're already good at, we're going to see a much greater increase. And when we use our strengths, we feel energized, we feel invigorated, we're more likely to be successful. But when we focus on too much on our weaknesses, it might actually hold us back. So you should focus on your weaknesses to some extent, to the extent that you need to improve in those areas in your job or in any area of life. But try to focus primarily on your strengths and identifying what it is you're good at, and then go and do those things.
So I know we talked about positivity earlier, but I wanted to talk about the impact it has on your mindset when it comes to resilience.
So how positivity? So I think positivity is a mindset.
Okay, it is in itself.
We can definitely boost our levels of positive emotions, but our ability to think positively and reframe events in a positive way is a mindset in itself. So how do we change the way we think so that we think more positively? When positive things happen, they often pass us by, especially when they're fleeting experiences. And I should mention that we actually all have this tendency to focus on the negative. And and that's because we needed to focus on the threats in our environment. Our ancestors needed to focus on threats in the environment in order to survive, right? It was those who were able to recognize
Fight or flight mode, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. The lions and the tigers and the bears.
Oh my.
It was our ancestors that were able to identify these threats that were able to survive. So as a result, our brains evolved to focus on the negative. For every 5 positive experiences, for every 1 negative feeling or interaction, we actually need 5 positive feelings or interactions
To counteract that.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a lot of positivity.
So, have you heard the expression neurons that fire together wire together?
No.
What does that mean?
So we've talked about practicing gratitude regularly. Another practice we can do to build our levels of positivity and change our mindset is by reflecting on positive experiences that happened in the last 24 hours and spending 2 minutes writing down every detail about that experience. So what's interesting is as you remember it, your brain labels it as meaningful and it deepens the impact. Our brains actually think that we're living the experience or reliving the experience. Now, when we do this, so this expression, neurons that fire together wire together, the longer your brain's neurons are firing together, the more likely they're going to wire together to establish long-term change. So when you repeatedly stimulate a circuit in your brain, you're strengthening it. So if we take the time to reflect on positive experiences that happen to us during a day, we're strengthening those neural connections in the brain, and then your brain is able to transfer the positive emotions from short-term memory to long-term memory, and then the more you practice this form of positive thinking or positive reflection, the positivity is more likely to become an inner resource.
This is all reminding me of Inside Out. Because like maybe I'm just a kid and a mom, but like because you want to you always in that movie, like when you're watching, you just always wanted joy to win. And sadness always tried to touch things and bring you down, but it's like the positive.
I've never seen it.
You've never seen it?
I've never seen it.
I've been with kids too long. Have you seen Inside Out?
No, I haven't.
You've never seen it? Okay,
No.
you need to go watch this because I feel like you'd relate to this. Inside
Really?
Out, basically, just to break down the movie quickly, it's about your inner emotions, like how your brain works. Like they try to talk about when you're a baby, your first emotion is joy automatically, and then sadness comes into play.
Crying. Sadness.
Yeah, sadness.
No, I guess it's not an emotion.
Like-
it's just
like-
the first step.
Yeah, like-
action, behavior, response.
So maybe it's more responses because then it like disgust comes into play, and then like anger, and I think it's like I don't know if it was anxiety or one of them, but so one of them. But basically, they all work together, and they have core memories. So joy always wants to have the best core memories because she wants her person to be like happy all the time and be positive all the time. So she'd always be like, oh, sadness, don't touch anything. Like, just leave it alone. And she has to be positive all the time. She can't be sad. So it's kind of funny that you, like, when you're saying all these things with the connections of the neurons, like, yeah, I guess I thought it was real life. I watch a lot of cartoons, so I feel like now I'm making the connection. And not even because of the kids, I just like cartoons, but they
the kids are there.
The kids are there. I should have been long gone, finished watching cartoons, so they extend the love. They do.
I'll have to check that out.
You check it out. I bet you'll tell us that I see the connection. I bet you.
So how can you identify your level of resilience? Like, how do you know how resilient you are? Is it based on life experience? Is it social? Is it spiritual? Is it like how do you identify your level of resilience? How would you identify your level of resilience?
For me, I think it's about reflecting back on past experiences and how I've coped with those experiences. So you can definitely Google online. I'm sure there's tons of resilience scales that, will provide you with a score and tell you what your level of resilience is. But I think more importantly, it's taking the time to reflect and say, okay, I went through a challenging situation today. How did I cope with it? And then next week, do the same thing again. Or next time you go through something challenging, how did you cope with it? Or look at how you coped with things in the past. I know I've definitely, over time, through experiences and through implementing these positive practices in my life, I've definitely become more resilient. I'm not perfect. When tough things happen, I get sad. I allow myself to grieve losses, relationships ending. But how long do you allow yourself to spend, feeling sorry for yourself? Give yourself some time and then say, you know what? Today I'm going to get up and I'm gonna do something good for me.
Yeah.
So it's about reflecting on how far you've come. Don't compare yourself to other people. Compare yourself to your past experiences and how you coped in the past.
I was gonna say, like, would you consider like resilience? Just ask questions, just to throw it out there. You can't have all the questions. Would you consider like resilience a good self-care, like a good portion of like your self-care?
100%. Yes. Engaging in self-care activities is going to boost your resilience. Mm-hmm. So anything that's going to help you feel better.
Mm-hmm. But even just reflecting, I mean, like just how you said, like reflecting on something to make you like connect more. So like would that be, people automatically consider self-care like, oh, I'm going to go do my hair today, or I'm going to like take a long soak in the tub. But like reflecting, you're making reflecting to me now sound like it's something you have to do to move forward and to make changes almost a little bit. Like, no?
Yeah,
You're looking
I
at me
think, well, psychology.
Mm-hmm.
So, cognitive behavioral psychology.
Mm-hmm.
Are you familiar with CBT?
I briefly for a semester in high school. So that's
Oh,
been a
wow.
long time.
That's cool that you learned about it in
Yeah,
high school.
I did anthropology, psychology, and sociology in high school.
I
so-
took that course too, and
Yeah.
that was when I was introduced to psych and loved it.
Yeah.
SAP.
Yeah.
But CBT, there is tons of evidence for CBT. If you're going for therapy, it's one of the most
I have a CBT therapist.
Oh, okay.
predominant forms of therapy that's very much evidence based, and it's all about changing your thoughts. So how can you change your thoughts if you don't reflect and figure out how it is you're thinking now? So I think reflection, for sure. I think how in order to move forward, you have
To reflect, yeah.
understand how do you speak to yourself, how do you behave, how do you respond.
Okay.
Any other questions?
No, I had that one.
You had that one on your heart?
and I just needed to
Okay.
know, like, I'm all about the self-care now. So I need
For
to,
sure.
and I like to reflect a little bit. So now it's making me feel like, maybe I should start reflecting a little bit more. Maybe that'll help bring on the positivity and the more resilience. So I'm here learning, okay? You always you throw me into the wolves so I could get my way out. So
you can learn.
So I can learn. So that's what I'm doing.
By
So
the way, though, like taking a bubble bath, going to get your hair done, going to get your nails done, I know that on Instagram you're seeing, self-care. So, I would never recommend, go get your hair done or go take a bubble bath. What I would recommend is take the time to do something for you. So especially if you're a mother and you're not taking a lot of time for yourself, carve out that time for you and do something that brings you joy, that enables you to relax or reflect. So for someone, it might be taking a bubble bath. For someone else, it might be going to get a manicure. So do what brings you joy and what brings you some relief from stress.
Yeah. Okay.
So, final question.
Oh, see, I got it right in time.
Got it right in time. Do we all need to work on our resilience, in your opinion?
Yes. You can never be too resilient. As I said at the beginning, you never know what is going to happen tomorrow. I mean, look, I feel so devastated about Kobe Bryant. I can't
Oh
even.
my gosh. I literally am just coming off this news.
Yeah.
Like,
I can't even imagine what his wife must be going through.
Like,
So
that's all. I mean, like, honestly, I'm not the biggest basketball fan. I know Kobe's he's an all around good, excellent, the GOAT, one of the GOATs, and everything. But when I heard the news, I instantly was like, his wife lost a lover that she's had from since she was 17, and she lost her firstborn child.
I didn't even realize it was their firstborn.
Yeah, it's the firstborn. 13-year-old's the firstborn. I'm like, that's two first loves of your lives that you lose at the same
Literally.
time. And it's like, even just talking about, resilience now, it's like, how does she get through that? Everybody's, on Instagram, but like, how does the person that's really going through it get through it right now?
Yeah, it's just such a tragedy. So you never know what's going to happen to you tomorrow. But let's say we're focusing on the majority of the population. We're going into work. We're coping. We're getting through. We're doing well at work. But we might feel like we're pretty resilient. I can get through these challenges. I can even push myself to perform well. But when we develop our resilience, when we maintain our level of resilience and actually work to build it, we can actually move from a neutral zone where we're getting through the day-to-day, we're doing well, but we can actually push ourselves into the thriving zone where we feel energized and invigorated. And at the end of the day, I think for many of us, I mean, I'm sure we all want to be in that place.
For sure.
For people who are struggling or who are recovering from a mental health challenge or mental illness, building and developing the resiliency will be important to help them get through that. But then for people who are who are getting through the day to day and want to push themselves into a zone where they really feel like they're thriving. Building resilience and building up those skills can help them to get there.
For sure. Well, thank you, Dr. Alex.
Thank you.
Thank you,
I'm
Dr. Alex.
so grateful to be here. Why don't we reflect on
Let's reflect on
three
that
things
for
we're
a
grateful
second.
for, or 3 positive things that happened to us today or over the past few days?
I would say I haven't done my gratitude journal today, so I'm going to do it on just live with you. I'm grateful for Elliot for coming to help me paint yesterday. I'm grateful for myself for finishing. And I'm grateful for you, Alex, for being here today. Oh, and I'm grateful for Bianca for all she does for me.
It's okay.
It was the last but not least type of
But it was
situation.
3. I mean, it's okay. You don't have to include. I'm okay being excluded sometimes, sister.
So, and I'm grateful for Alex for being here today with us.
I'm very
So-
grateful to be here, so I'll start on that. This is like the coolest thing ever, being able to record a podcast. So I'm definitely grateful for that. I'm grateful for my job. I got to participate in a really cool meeting today at work.
Ooh, fun one. Fun ones are the best
It was
ones.
it was an amazing opportunity. So I'm grateful for that, and I'm grateful for my family. Just called my dad on the walk over here. I'm lucky to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Oh,
3 things you're grateful
3 things
for,
I'm
B?
grateful for. Obviously, my children.
Of course.
They're, my children. They're first. I'm grateful for life because a lot of people didn't wake up this morning, so that's something to be grateful for.
Amen.
And I'm grateful for all the opportunities that I've been exposed to in the last couple of months.
Such as this one.
You see how I said it though, and it was a broad horizon. Sometimes you need to broaden what you're grateful for, girl. So that's all.
I had to go specific. I'm sorry.
You went real specific.
I went real specific real quick.
Just saying.
Anyways, so this is going to be airing the first Monday. We tape on Mondays. The first Wednesday of the month, we're going to be doing this series with Dr. Alex. We're just going to ride this bitch till the wheel falls off, basically. We're going to be coming up with a myriad of topics that...
And I don't think they're ever going to fall off because
There's so many topics that Dr. Alex is so very learned on. And we're just going to keep going with this for as long as it lasts. So as I said, it's going to be called Dyshing with Dr. Alex. This episode is called Resilience. So tune in for more every first Wednesday of the month. And if you guys want to reach Alex to talk about anything at all, if you have any questions for her in her awesome glory, let me know. Sorry, my back is killing me, guys. Oh gosh, Jesus. I can't even express how much my back is hurting.
all that work, you see?
Yeah, just all that work. But yeah, so if you guys want to reach Alex at all, to talk about resilience or any of the other topics that we're going to be covering, we're also going to be posing a question on Instagram about resilience.
I think we should do that every
week. We know
every
the topic.
week.
We'll
Yeah.
pose a question.
Yeah.
And you'll be able to email us at dysh@daintydish.com. But I'm doing Bianca's job for her now, so I'm going
I
to
don't
pass it
know
over to her.
Why you are? Like, I thought you were going to just pass it on over. I thought maybe
I'm
you were going to
sliding
ask
over.
Dr. Alex for any of her handles because I don't have any of those. And where she could be personally reached for the people. I thought that's what you were
We
going
could do
at,
that.
but-
We could do that after. You do yours first.
Okay, do mine first? Okay.
Okay.
Just thanks. So if you guys are looking to reach us, you could reach us at dysh@daintydish.com. So that's DYSH at daintydish, DAINTY dysh.com. And if you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts,
Just 505.
and if you're listening to us on any other subscription or podcast streaming services, thank you very much. Like, share, and subscribe us. If you're looking for us on social media, my social media handle is That Mother Bad. That's THATMUVA. BADXO. Woo! And if you're looking for Onika, her media handle is
Best of Onika. That's BESTOFONIKA.
okay.
And also, you can reach us at the Dainty Dish Podcast
yes,
Instagram.
the Dainty Dish Podcast Instagram. Are you guys ready for the spelling bee? It's the Dainty Dish Podcast.
At Dainty Dish Podcast.
No, it's at Dainty Dish Podcast.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's at Dainty Dish Podcast. That's DAINTY DYSHPODCAST.
Yes,
Did
you
I
got
get
it.
that
You
right?
got it.
Woo!
You got it.
Woo! Another week down. Another week down.
And Alex, did you want to share your social media?
Yes, phd.positivity on Instagram. Follow me there.
Follow her there. Like, love, subscribe.
And yeah, you can also message me there with any questions.
Perfect.
There you go.
So there you go, guys.
All right. Well, that has been the dish of the day, and I hope y'all have yourselves a very, very, very happy hump day.